for those who haven't joined yet, because sometimes the timing doesn't suit everyone, people chase up later. Hare Krishna. Let's start with Mangalacharan and then we shall start our Bhagavad Gita sessions. So if you like to join me, feel free, and that's the purpose. We have slides shared for everyone. Let's join together. Ajnana-timirandasya
ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया
चक्षुरुन्मिलितं
चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै
तस्मै
श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं
स्थापितं येन
येन भूतले
स्वयं
स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति
ददाति
स्वापदान्तिकम्।
स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्दे
वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजि
साधुवेतं
तवदूतं
सहितं कृष्णदेव श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखावितं हे
कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु
नमस्ते गोपेश नमस्ते ताप्त कांचन वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते
देवी
हरि प्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यः पतितानां पावनेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो नारायणाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय
श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता
नमस्ते
सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य
जय श्री कृष्ण
कृष्ण
चैतन्य
चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद
श्री
श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
हरे कृष्णा
कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण
कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा everyone. Thank you so much for everyone joining me. It's such a pleasure to have you for our beginning session and to have all of you joining in Mangalacharan as well. We will do a session, we have a presentation on Mangalacharan itself, where we can see and understand the meaning of each and every word we have in Mangalacharan. So what you see on slides is Sanskrit and each and every word is explained in English. So maybe very soon we will do one of the session just on Mangalacharan, just to understand what these prayers are. We have done something similar in the past, but maybe without the presentation. Maybe having presentation will help all of us. Right. Okay. So what we're going to do today, and let me get to the other presentation. Maybe this is the best one to have. Okay, I hope you can see the presentation now. So this presentation is where we will see, before we start Bhagavad Gita, we try to understand what is Bhagavad Gita. And last session also, we spent some time on it. So today, what it says, setting the scene, somebody who doesn't know about Bhagavad Gita. So this is what we call is starting from the scratch, is starting from the background. If somebody doesn't know anything about it, then this is the best way of getting to it, right? I have Aryan here with me, whom you can't see in the camera, but he's sitting next to me. He doesn't want to be in the camera just for now, but we are going to keep it in very conversational style. So Aryan and myself, we will have a chat. Any one of you, feel free to join us anytime. Needless to say, any questions you have, feel free to say on chat, raise your virtual hand, or just unmute yourself and speak. Just say what you want to. Anything you can think of related to what we are doing, please, right? It's always a pleasure to hear from you. All right, okay, let's go for it. So there are many Bhagavad Gitas in market. Anyone knows the minimum different types of translations we have? So Bhagavad Gita was one, right? Because Bhagavad Gita is a conversation between Arjun and Krishna. And that conversation happened once. Anyone knows how long it took? The whole Bhagavad Gita, starting from 1 till 700 verses. How long in time period, roughly? 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 day, 2 days. Any guesses? Yes, Aryan?
45 minutes.
Okay, Aryan guessed it. He knows about it, so that's why his guess is absolutely correct. It says roughly 45 minutes. Now, 45 minutes, what do we have now with us? Kali is very different than 45 minutes then. So if we would try to read the whole Bhagavad Gita in 45 minutes, we might not able to even able to recite. Even though some of the kids, they are so great. And in December, we are going to get Gita Jayanti. And on Gita Jayanti, a lot of kids, a lot of adults, we recite the whole Bhagavad Gita in one single day. And it takes a while. Oh, Adi says 45 minutes. No, that's okay. Great, Adi. Yes, 45 minutes. So, but and again, the conversation happened like it's there in the translation. In Sanskrit verses, it was even much quicker. But for us, it does take a lot of time because we try to understand, right? So for example, a teacher is there, teacher will give one lesson in a week. And if you think about it, in the month, there are 4 lessons. And in the whole term, 3 months, there might be only 10 or 12 lessons, right? Only 10 and 12 lessons. But when you will try to revise it, it might take 1 or 2 hours just to revise the whole 12 hours lessons. But when you try to understand it from the curriculum point of view, when you read the book, reading that book might take you more than 12 hours. So it really depends. What do you want to do with that information? Do we just want to read that information? Do we want to revise that information? Or do we want to understand that information so we can implement that in our life? Is that right, Aryan?
Yeah.
Yes, Aryan is agree. I hope you all are in agreement. The whole, even though, okay, Adi is, thank you, Adi. So the whole idea of reading Bhagavad Gita is so we can, why are we reading?
Life, you know how to.
Okay, Aaron says so we can get better at life. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's so true. Yes, the wisdom, the knowledge we get from Bhagavad Gita, we can implement that in our life, right? So when Pawaki would have to decide which toy she needs, then she can decide, Sunday evening I did Bhagavad Gita. How can I use that information? How can I use that wisdom? How can I use that reasons Krishna gave to Arjun to make this decision in my life, right? So that's how Bhagavad Gita is helping us. And that's how it's supposed to help us, right? It might not get to us in the first session, maybe slowly, gradually, we will try to understand. But keep asking the questions, right? And this is, so the question I asked, how many Bhagavad Gitas are there? So there is only one Bhagavad Gita, the dialogue happened between Krishna and Arjun, but there are many translations and many purports there in the industry. I got few as well. So, but if you go out in the market, try to find out, I need a Bhagavad Gita, there are around or more than 400 different translations of Bhagavad Gita. I'm not talking about different languages. I'm just saying stick to any language, maybe in English, stick to English, and you will get different authors of Bhagavad Gita. Well, author is Krishna, but different authors who would give their purpose, would give their explanation, would give their point of view. That I think when Krishna said this, then that's what Krishna meant, right? So Krishna said something. Now, who knows what Krishna meant? Well, of course, Arjun asked the corresponding, the follow-up questions, and using that we can understand it, right? So the one we follow, and it just happens to be the most famous translation in the market. So if you say top 10 Bhagavad Gitas, then you will get the list of 10, and the first one widely known is Bhagavad Gita as it is. It says as it is. So Prabhupada ji said as it is, meaning that there's no hidden agenda. I'm just giving you, this is all coming from Prabhupada ji, that I'm giving you what Krishna said. I'm not saying that this is something from inside Krishna is speaking, or Krishna said this because Krishna wanted Arjun to do that. No, this is exactly what Krishna meant. Now, of course, somebody can say, but how could we be so sure that Prabhupada ji is right? Isn't it? How are we sure? Power key, yes, you got a virtual hand up. Great. Yes, please.
Who is Arjun?
Who is Arjun? Yes, that's a great question. If you can see this slide, in this slide, this guy, oops, okay, I won't be able to mark up here, or I don't want to mark up because otherwise.
The guy behind Krishna, he's Arjun, I know, but I don't know who he is.
Okay, you know Arjun, but you don't know who he is. We are going to cover it in this presentation today. Okay, but very briefly, anyone else would like to answer, Pavaki, who Arjun is or Arjun was? Adi. Yes, please, Adi, go.
Arjun is the best archer.
Yes, that's right. Very good. Any more information about Arjun? Do we know? What do we know about Arjun? Anything else? Okay, great. Adi, Aryan wants to say something?
Yes. Arjun, he was the middle-aged brother. So he was in the middle of the 5 Pandavas.
Okay.
And he was Krishna's son.
Yes. Power key. That's the reason today's session is we are not starting Bhagavad Gita, but we are setting the scene, which is we are going to give the background knowledge. But yes, there were 5 brothers, and out of 5, one is called Arjun. And we will see who Krishna was, right? Well, we will find out in Bhagavad Gita who Krishna was or Krishna is. But we will find more information about Arjun now. Okay. So
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Is it Arjun or Arjuna?
Okay. What do you think?
I always say as Arjuna.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
Arjun, you go down. What do you think?
So there are 2, Arjun and Arjuna. Arjuna is when you translate Arjun in English. Arjun is just normal in Hindi.
Right. That's right. So, okay, Shivani got it. Shivani, yes, you got your hand up, please.
I think a bit like Aryan, but I think it's like you can use like alternative. You don't have it's not this one is actually like correct. You can say both of them.
You can say both of them. Okay, that's even better. Like it. Great. So Shivani says you can use both. So don't worry about it. Adi, you can use any. But well, the difference is when we say so in Sanskrit, Bhagavad Gita was spoken in Sanskrit. So there in Sanskrit, it's actually Arjuna, A at the end. In Hindi, we drop the A, we call it Arjun. But then when we translate back it to English, then we add the A at the end a lot of times. So we call it Arjuna. So whether you call it Arjun or you call it Arjuna is the same, but in different languages. But because we are speaking in English, we usually just say Arjun. right? But a lot of time you will see when we write, we add a at the end. This happens to a lot of words which comes from Sanskrit to Hindi. In Hindi we drop the a. For example, Ram, Rama. So in Sanskrit it's Rama, Krishna. But when we say Krishna, we drop the a. We just say Krishna, n. But in Sanskrit, Krishna, Rama. But in Hindi we drop it. Right? But in English, now when we write English, if the source of that English is Hindi, then we will not write a. But if the source of that English is Sanskrit, then we add a. So we have the Sanskrit and we are writing English, we will write. Okay, great question. Great question. Thank you, Adi, and thank you, Pavaki. Let's go over what Pavaki asked for. Okay, let's move on. So yes, there are so many of those translations, and the one we are covering this one from Srila Prabhupada ji. So why? It says, Arvind, could you read that slide, please?
According to Srila Prabhupada, basic practical preaching book. One must study Bhagavad Gita inside out, and that will help govern our external activities. One must understand the whole philosophy and not in isolation. Cohesive unit fits together.
Great. Thank you so much. So yes, if you think about it, this is what we're saying. Basic practical preaching book. So a lot of people consider that as ritualistic. People say this is a religious book. As soon as you will mention Bhagavad Gita, people say, oh, this book relates to Hinduism. Only Hindus supposed to read it. But no, this says it's practical book, which means anyone could use. And it's not one of those books which we should only pray. The information in this book, we can use in our life. That's the whole idea. If you, along with using the information, you want to pray the book, great. But if you only want to pray the book and you don't want to use that information in your life, then it's not going to do much for you, right? The information, the knowledge, the wisdom will be for you only when you will practically implement in your life. And that's the reason we are here. One must study Bhagavad Gita inside out. Anyone knows what does that mean? Inside out. Yeah.
So you'll know it so much that you don't have to look at the book and you understand like the meaning of it easily without going back to the proper physical text.
True. Well, inside out means a lot of time when people read the book, sometimes they read only the paper cover. Sometimes they only read the context. They don't really read it in detail. They don't read it thoroughly. And sometimes people read everything inside, but they don't read what it says at the back or maybe what it says on the front. So what we are saying, Bhagavad Gita is one of those books we need to read inside and outside, which means we want to read everything in Bhagavad Gita, which means we want to read it in detail. We want to read it thoroughly. There is nothing in Bhagavad Gita which we can leave. So we are going to read it very nicely, very thoroughly. And that's the reason we don't want to rush into, we don't have any agenda. We don't have any deadline that within 6 months we need to finish or within 3 months we need to finish. If it's going to take us 12 years, we are going to take 12 years. But well, in 12 years, a lot of you will leave me, I guess, because you will join the university, a lot of you. Right. And that will help govern our external activities, which means whatever we will do. So how we interact with others, people will find out that there is something we are reading because we are a different person. We are much more happier. One must understand the flow of philosophy. Now, what is philosophy? Ari? How's that? Yes. What is philosophy?
Philosophy, I mean, how do I explain it? I'm not sure how to explain it. Philosophy, it's like, what do you call it?
Anyone else would like to say what philosophy is? So these days in this
What was the word that you said?
Philosophy. This word, Adi. This word. The one I've just highlighted. This word is philosophy. Okay. Oh, Shivani got her hand up. Yes, Shivani, please.
Philosophy It could be like knowledge.
It could be like knowledge. Okay, great. Thank you. Power key, you got your hand up, please.
Understanding life.
Understanding life. Very nice. Thank you so much. Yes, philosophy could be considered as the chain of thoughts. What do we think about? Very simply, there could be many different, but what Pavaki said is very close to it. And Shivani was right as well. So it's the flow of thinking. When we think before we do something, that's what philosophy is. So when somebody will see a tree, what do you think when you look at tree? Somebody will think something, another person will think of something else, and that's what we call that thinking. For us could be considered as philosophy, right? In very general sense, I think this will do for us. Well, thank you so much, Pavake and Shivani. Great. So this is what it is, and it's not in isolation, which means it's not that you just pick one chapter of Bhagavad Gita and say only that is important. No, when we read it from chapter 1 to chapter 18, we will see the flow, the thinking. Our mind is changing. Our mind is saying, wow. So chapter 2 said this, chapter 3 said this, chapter 4 said that. Now I get it. Now I understand it. Okay, so that's the reason we are here. Let's go for it. Next one. What does that say? Okay, I have to take my annotation off. Right, okay. Ooh. So, okay, Aaron, you would like to read that, please?
Yes. Lord Krishna's compassion. Shankaracharya describes Gita as river of nectar. History of Mahabharata. Arjuna's denial of war. Lord speaks Gita out of compassion for living entities.
Great. So if you think about it, this is what it says. Now, Shankaracharya is a great leader. He was, and he described that Gita is a river of nectar. Anyone knows what nectar is? Aaron, what do you think nectar
I know
is?
what nectar is.
Oh, Adi. Okay, Adi and Shivani. Adi, what do you think nectar is?
Nectar is when you make it yourself immortal.
Sorry, when you make?
It's a type of drink that makes you immortal.
Yes, great. Thank you. Shivani, what do you think nectar is?
I think it's the same thing, but it's when I think the demon and the demigods were well, like taking it out,
Yes, yes.
and
Very nice.
like there was a demon which drank half of it, I think.
Okay, thank you. And Pawaki, you got your hand up as well. If you, oh, your hand is down now, but yes, yeah, your mic is unmuted. Please.
What is nectar? I think it's a sweet powder that bees get to make honey.
Oh, yes, you're right there as well. Thank you so much. Yes, Adi, Shivani, and Pawaki, all three of you are right. Nectar is it. So you all gave a different context. So when a honeybee is there, honeybee goes and take the nectar out of the flower, right? So that's where we consider, or where we say the chemical, the honeybee extract, that chemical is referred as nectar. Sometimes when we hear something, oh, this is nectar, which means just to express that how great it is, right? But like what Shivani said, nectar is also, or what Adi also said, something like a liquid which can make you immortal. You will never die. So this is why it says river of nectar, which means something great. Great. Can you please remove the arrow? Because I want to take a photo. Oh, great. Sure. Adi, I will share the presentation with you if you like, but for now, I will just clear it. If you want to take a picture, Adi loves taking pictures, which is great. This is actually a very good picture as well. But I will share the presentations with you. I have many different presentations for different chapters. So I share there on the WhatsApp group, or if you want, I can send it directly to you whenever you want. Anyone watching on YouTube live, if you want to share it, if you want me to share with you, please email me and I will share with you. Great. Thank you so much. So yes, now this is This is why it says Lord Krishna's compassion. Why the Bhagavad Gita was said? Because Lord Krishna really loves his devotees. And Arjun was his friend, Arjun was his cousin, and Arjun was his devotee. We will find out what all that means. So now, if we come further, anyone would like to read anything from this slide?
Can I do it?
Okay, sure. Adi, go on, please.
Can I read everything?
Maybe a bit, maybe 2 boxes.
Mahabharata,
And-
composed 5,000 years ago by Maharaja Dev.
Great. Okay, Shivani, would you like to read 2 more? You also raised your hand, and then Pavaki after that. Yeah? Shivani, you're not... Okay, yeah, you're unmuted now.
Spoken to Arjuna, devotee and friend.
Nice. One more, please.
Okay. Appears an episode of Bharata.
Okay, great. Thank you. Pavaki, would you like to read the rest of them? I think there's 6 boxes, so very, very nicely split into 3 of you.
Spoken by Lord Sri Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Very nice. And would you like to read the last box as well, please?
Spoken by
Maybe this one. Oh,
Greatest, philosopherless, and religious
dialogue.
dialogue just before war.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Pavaki. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adi. Thank you, Shivani. Great. Now may I request Aryan to explain a bit about this, because there are little arrows there. So Aryan, what do you think? How will you describe this slide?
So the Mahabharata made, so then from the Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita came,
Mhm.
and then going down. So the Bhagavad Gita is an episode of the Mahabharata, and it's the greatest dialogue before war, the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is explaining Arjun why he should fight, and
Mhm.
he spoke to Arjun as a devotee and friend. On the left-hand side, where it says composed 5,000 years ago by Maharishi Vyasadeva,
Mhm.
Vyasadeva, if I'm not wrong, he told Ganesha to write the Bhagavad Gita when he heard it.
Right.
So he's also the compiler.
Okay. Yes, yes, that's right. Anyone else has heard this? Oh, Pavaki got the virtual hand up. I'm not sure if it's the previous one or it's the new virtual hand. Would you like to add anything, Pavaki, please? Oh, the hand is down. Okay, maybe that was the previous one. Great. All right. Okay. So this is what we have seen it before as well. But let's see now what it says. So yes. Oh, are these clapping, I guess? Are they really like that description? Right. So first thing, Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. Now, what is Mahabharata? Mahabharata is a battle between 2 cousins. Now, not only 2 cousins, but each of those cousins, they have their own armies. The one cousin's family was called Kauravas, right? There were hundreds of them, 100 Kauravas. And the eldest one was Dhritarashtra, which could be a quite mouthful of name. Dhritarashtra, did I say? Duryodhan. Dhritarashtra was Duryodhan's father. So Duryodhan was there, who was the eldest, and he was a baddie, right? His actions were not very nice. But then on the other side, we have 5 Pandavas. And Pandavas were those 5 brothers who were with Krishna, or rather Krishna was with him. Why? Because they were very nice, right? They were pious. Their activities were good. And that's the reason Krishna was with him. And now these 5 Pandavas, 5 brothers, and Arjun is one of them. Arjun is one of those 5 Pandavas, and Arjun, including all those 5 Pandavas, they are going to fight with Kauravas, and the leader is Duryodhan, who is a baddie. Shivani, you got your hand up, please. Yes.
Yeah, I was saying that I think that you told us in the last class that why Krishna was on Arjun's side. It was because he gave both of them choices that do you want my soldier or me? Well, my soldiers or me, and then I can't remember, but the other cousins came,
Yeah.
and then he sat sideways, and then Arjuna came next to the feet of Krishna, and then they waited, and then Krishna came, and then he looked at Arjun first, but then the other cousin said that this is not fair because I came first, and he said, but then Krishna said that he saw Arjun first. So then Dhritarashtra was worried that Arjun might ask for his whole soldier, but instead Arjun asked for Krishna. That's why Krishna was an
Very
Arjun.
nice. Thank you, Shivani. Yes. Great. So the great recap of that story, which we did it last week. And
I
Hare
know why
Krishna.
Arjun saw Krishna first. I know why Krishna saw Arjuna first.
Yes, why? Why are they?
Because people wake up like sleeping to up. Now, because Duryodhana was at his side, so he just saw upwards, not beside.
Very
That's
nice.
all.
Thank you, Adi, and thank you, Shivani. Yes, great point, Shivani, and great point, Adi. And that's so true. Recently, somebody put a clock in the bedroom, and the person was thinking, where shall I put? On the left hand side, on the right hand side. But at the end, the person decided, I'm going to put the clock. It was a digital clock, which the person could read in the dark. So that's why the person put the clock on the front wall. So in the morning, when the person will wake up, person will straight away see. And that's the reason when Krishna woke up, Krishna saw Arjun. Arjun was his cousin brother, and Arjun was sitting right there. But while Duryodhan was sitting on the side. Yes, please, Shivani.
We in our house we also have a digital clock which can glow in the light.
Oh yes, maybe I was referring to you then. Yes, you're right. Great, thank you, Shivani. Okay, so yes, and as Aryan said, Ved Vyas. If you see on the left hand side, we have Ved Vyas ji. So this is Ved Vyas. He was a sage, and we have Ganesh ji. Recently, we celebrated Ganesh Chaturthi. So Ganesh ji is one of the wisest person on the planet, right? And he was so good. His handwriting was so nice. His understanding is so great. So when Ved Vyas said, I'm going to write Bhagavad Gita. Oh, well, he said, I'm going to write all the Vedas, Upanishad, Mahakavya, which is one of those Mahabharat. Then he needed someone, and he said, who will write? Then he thought about it, and he said, Ganesh ji is the best one. Then he requested Ganesh ji to write, and Ganesh ji wrote in one flow. He did not stop at all. And Ved Vyas ji kept speaking, and Ganesh ji kept writing. And that's the reason we have this picture where Ved Vyas ji is speaking and Ganesh ji is writing. And Aryan got something to say. Yes, please.
Didn't he also have to add his own interpretations to it?
Okay, not really, no. Ganesh ji did not add anything from his side, but
oh no, he needed to understand it.
Yes, yeah. So when Ved Vyas ji requested Ganesh ji that I would request you to write this for me, I will speak. So what Ved Vyas ji did, he closed his eyes and he thought about Krishna, and he requested Krishna, give me that knowledge, give me that wisdom so I can speak the correct words. And then he said, but I can't really write at the same time. I need someone else. So Ganesh ji was there. Ganesh ji, they said, I will do it, well, on one condition. on one condition. And what was the condition? He said, you should not stop, because Ganeshji was really good. He said, I will get bored if you will go in meditation. And those days, meditation used to be for years. He said, if you want to speak, just keep continuously speaking. And
I have a
then,
question.
yes, please, Adi.
It's not related to this, but it's related to Ganeshji.
Okay, yes.
You
go
know
on.
when Ganeshji got his head cut off, yeah,
Yes.
and
That's
by
right.
Shiva, yeah.
That's right. Yes.
I've had like Shiva's very calm and cool. Why did Shiva cut his head off and
Yeah.
get angry?
Because even though dads, they are very calm and cool most of the time, but sometimes they get angry. Yeah. So you should be careful. And I will suggest you don't tell this story to your dad at all, Abhi. It's not very nice. Okay. Well, I will give you more answer, but Shivani got something to add. Shivani, you would like to add something, please?
Yeah, I can quickly tell a little briefing. Basically, Shiva's wife was taking a bath, I think, and then she just created up a son, and then said, "Okay, you stand here in front and don't let anybody come." But then Shiva came and he said, "Why aren't you letting me in?" And then Ganeji said that, "Oh, because my mother said not to let anybody in." And then Shiva was so angry, he thought he was a stranger and stuff, and cut his head off. And then his wife said that, "Find the first head you can find and put it on my child," I think.
Very nice. Thank you, Shivani. So yes, that's why. That's how it happened. And this was the past time. So Ganeshji usually, you're right, Adi, Shivji is very kind. He's always kind. Even that was a Leela. See, Ganeshji looks so nice with that. And that's the reason we have so many of those pastimes, those stories about Ganeshji. So it's just one of those what we call Leela, the action, the drama they did for us to cherish, right? But the story was what Shivani stated, right? But yes, dads, they're usually cool-headed, but sometimes they can go mad. And I'm looking at Aryan, he's sitting next to me. Okay, all right. Thanks for that question, Adi. Let's move on. So Ved Vyasji was there. How many years back Bhagavad Gita was written? Nearly 5,000 years back. When the Kali Yuga started. So there are 4 yugas. So we have Satyug, we have Dwapar, we have Treta, we have Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the one we are in, and Kali Yuga started 5,000 years back. And Ved Vyasji knew that people won't able to remember like what they used to. There was a time when people just hear once and they will remember everything. That's it. That was the means. But now in Kali Yuga, people won't, and we know we don't. So it's time to write. And that's how it all started. So Maharishi Ved Vyasji narrated the whole Mahabharata to Ganeshji, and Ganeshji wrote it. And it says, appears as an episode of Mahabharata, which means in Mahabharata, there are a lot of information. But Bhagavad Gita is only one part of it, right? So there are 100,000 verses in Mahabharata, 100,000, 1 lakh, 1/10 of million. Is that right? Yeah. So Bhagavad Gita only 700 verses out of those 100,000 verses. So Bhagavad Gita is a very small part of Mahabharata. And it says it's the greatest philosophical. Now, what is philosophical? We said like thinking. Based on this, what we can think. When we see things, what we think about, that thinking changes. The thinking changes. And religious dialogue. Dialogue is the conversation between 2 people. And that's the reason it says, just before the war. Remember, Mahabharata is the name of a big fight, a war, a battle, right? But just so the battle, the war, whatever we categorize it into, it has not started yet. It's about to start, right? So Arjun, who was one of the 5 brothers, Pandavas, they have not started the fight yet. So other side, Duryodhan and his army, they are waiting. And Arjun and Krishna, they have just started speaking with each other, and we will find out why this happened. But it's just a dialogue just before the war. War has not started there, and it happens a lot of times. Before the war, people, they discuss things. Spoken by Lord. So we will see another slide how many verses was spoken by Krishna, by Arjun, by Sanjay, and by Dhritarashtra. And Shri Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We will see this word again and again. I will explain what that means. Then it says spoken to Arjun, who is a devotee and who is a friend. And we will see what these words they mean as well. But Arjun was a cousin of Krishna. So Arjun's mother was Krishna's father's sister. So Krishna's father and Arjun's mother, they were brother and sister. So it's a family. The cousins are there together. So they were cousins, but the cousins could also be good friends. And then one of the cousin could also become another one's devotee. Now, what does devotee means? We will find out soon. But devotee is someone who has surrendered to you. Surrender means that who has said that I know you are the only one who can help me. No one else could. And that's what the surrender is. But again, we will find more information on this word very soon. Okay. If you have any questions so far, good. If not, now this is the next slide. And you can see full of information, right? And let me take those annotations away because we don't want to. When we are going to read it, we would like to keep it simple, straightforward. Now, a lot of information is there, but as Pavaki said, Pavaki would like to know what Arjun is, who Arjun was, which family he belongs to. It's really good for us to know this because when we are going to discuss Bhagavad Gita with someone else, then that person might not know anything about it, might not know who Arjun is, might not know who Krishna is. Oh, I know you're saying Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue between Krishna and Arjun, but who are these guys? Are they guys? I don't know anything about it. Then you have to give a bit of background about it, right? A lot of times we say this, we give the background information about it. And this is what it is. So Hare Krishna, I was about to say in between, welcome Tanmay, good to have you. It's always a pleasure. And I know Ishan is also there. So feel free if you guys, because your camera is off, if you like to read, please by all means unmute yourself or raise your virtual hand, say something in chat or just read it through, right? So let's read this. Who would like to read a bit of this? Okay, we go Pavaki and Tanmay. So how about we go with Tanmay first and then we will come to Pavaki. Okay, Pavaki? Let's give the opportunity to Tanmay. Tanmay, please, if you can read few boxes.
Okay. So it starts off with Dhritarashtra, and he was born blind, and then he had 100 sons, and then the eldest son was Duryodhana. Then Duryodhana planned to kill Pandavas many times, but under careful protection of uncle Vidur, they were saved. He was a minister of the kingdom. Then Dronacharya was the military art teacher. He's a very good fighter. Then Bhishma Pitama was the grandfather of Pandavas and Kauravas. So he had both Pandavas and Kauravas. And then the Pandu was the father of the Pandavas, and he had 5 sons, and he was a younger brother of Dhritarashtra. But he was made king because Dhritarashtra was blind, and Dhritarashtra didn't like this at all. So, and then his sons are Yudhishthira, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahdev.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Tanmay. Tanmay is great for anyone who doesn't know Tanmay. Tanmay is a great devotee and Tanmay knows a lot of things. So great to have you, Tanmay. It's always good to hear. Anyone else, Pavaki, you would like to read a few bits? Please.
I can't really see it. I can't see it at all.
Can everybody please read some after Pavaki?
Yes, sure, Adi. After Pavaki, you can read it.
We lost the slide.
You lost the slide. Okay, slide is there, I'm sure. If it happens, especially if you're on.
It's just when you Aurora and you Declan and two other people from second squad team. We lost the slide.
Okay. Pavaki, we are struggling to hear you. Okay. How about Pavaki, while you're fixing? What will
Maybe
you do?
she's fixing the settings.
Yes, thank you. That's right. I think that's right. Okay. So yes, please, Adi, would you like to read it?
Okay. Now, the detail next slide. Wait. Sorry. Duryodhan planned to kill Pavana in many times, but under carefully protection of Uncle Vija, that there was saved.
Great. Thank you, Adi. And Hare Krishna, Devesh and Devika, welcome. Good to have you.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So many blessings for you. So what we're doing, we have restarted Bhagavad Gita, and this is what we call setting the scene. So we are, if we read Bhagavad Gita as it is, then there is a section setting the scene, and there is a section where introduction is given by Srila Prabhupada ji, and that's what we are covering. So before reading Bhagavad Gita, we are discussing the details, what happened before, the background if somebody doesn't know about it, because a lot of times we miss the details. Okay, Pavaki, are you back? Okay, all right. Pavaki is just fixing few things. That's okay. So let us cover what it says, and I will request Aryan to summarize this slide a bit, please, Aryan.
Okay, so Pandu and Dhritarashtra, they were brothers in the Kuru dynasty. Dhritarashtra was born blind, had 100 sons, and the oldest of those sons tried killing Pandu's sons, which were the Pandavas. And all of them had a main teacher, Dronacharya.
Bhishma.
Oh, I didn't see him. Yeah. The Pandavas and the Kauravas, Bhishma was Dhritarashtra and Pandu's father, making the Pandavas and Kauravas grandfather.
Great.
He also
Okay.
had a boo.
Thank you. So let's start from here. Right on the top, what we see is Vedvyas ji. He compiled. He was a compiler, right? Because Bhagavad Gita was given by Krishna. So he compiled. Compile means he did not create it. He got some information there, some information there. He put it together. That's what the compiler is, right? He compiled Mahabharata. Obviously, as we saw in previous slide, written by Ganesha, but Ganeshji, but he was the one who gave that information to Ganeshji. So he was speaking, Ganeshji was writing. And then in Mahabharata, there is a family, and that family is called Kuru. So that's why we call it Kuru dynasty, right? So a lot, it says details, next slide. So a lot of details going to come very soon. But King Bharat was one of those. Now, if you know, India is a foreign name. Otherwise, anyone knows India's real name? India's Indian name.
I do.
Bharata.
Bharata. Okay. All right. Okay. I think Devesh and Devika, you were about to say the same?
Yeah, I was going to say Bharat.
Bharat. Okay, great. Thank you.
And this
Thank
is
you.
Dev.
This is Deviki. Okay. Thank you, Deviki. And thank you, Pavaki. So great. Yes.
Devesh.
Devesh. Sorry. Sorry, Devesh. Yes. So Bharat. That's right. A lot of times, if you see, it says like it says made in UK, made in China, made in India. These days, a lot of products made in Bharat, and especially if you see products by Baba Ramdev, for example. They say at the back, made in Bharat. And a lot of times spiritual guys, spiritual people, they use the word Bharat rather than India. So when they go back, they say, oh, I'm visiting Bharat, which means I'm visiting India. So India is a foreign name, but Bharat is the India's Indian name. So that name was given because of this king, because there was a ruler, King Bharat. Again, the A is added because of Sanskrit and Hindi, what we discussed. Krishna, Krishna, Rama, Rama, Bharata, Bharat, right? So then in Kuru dynasty, we used to have this great personality. When we say personality, and that's where again we will see supreme personality of Godhead. What does that mean? We will discuss. But Bhishma was the grandfather of Pandav and Kauravas. So there were two brothers. So a lot of details will come, but there were two brothers. One was Dhritarashtra and one was Pandu, right? So the sons of Dhritarashtra, if you see, highlighted in red here is Dhritarashtra, and highlighted in green here is Pandav. So because it says green, they were good people. And because it's highlighted in red, the red is usually not very, when it says red, it's alarm. Something goes wrong. So everybody gets ready. And this is what Dhritarashtra's mentality is. Dhritarashtra was not one of those best people in the history.
Was it not Dhritarashtra? Was it just Duryodhana?
No,
Dhritarashtra was good, wasn't he? Or-
no,
okay.
Dhritarashtra was born blind, as it says. So he was even elder brother of Pandu, but he was born blind. Born blind was that when he was born, he was blind. Some people, they become blind later, but he was born blind, which means if you become blind later, then there are chances that from operations, sometimes you will get your sight back. But most of the time, almost always, if you are born blind, then chances are you will never get your sight back, right? But again, science is working on it. So he had 100 of sons, right? He had 100 sons, and the eldest son was Duryodhan, and that's the name I keep saying, Duryodhan. Now Duryodhan, so Pandu was the younger brother, but he was a king because Dhritarashtra was blind. So Pandu had 5 sons. So imagine Dhritarashtra was blind and he had 100 sons, and Pandu was the king and he only had 5 sons. And these 5 sons were really nice. Each one of them were great, right? And now we will see both of them. So all the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra and all the 5 sons of Pandu, because they were son of Pandus, they were called Pandavas. So now when I will say Arjun was a Pandav, reason being because his father was Pandu. And this is how it used to be in olden days. So the country King Bharat used to live, that country's name was Bharat, right? So Arjun's mother name is Kunti, so Arjun could be called Konte. And this is the way it used to be. Now you could try all these names in your family, right? Think of it, if your mother is called something, then you can change the last few alphabets, and you can see if you can find out how you would be pronounced. And this used to happen in Vedic culture in olden times. This used to happen, right? But now what's happening in between, we have Dronacharya, and if you see, his color is different, right? He's not red, he's not green, he's in the middle. He was a military art teacher. He taught how to fight, how to use the weapons to both of them, because he was a royal teacher. This was a royal family, so all these were princes and he was the teacher. So what we call royal teacher. So for him, all the 100 sons, 5 sons, they were like 105 princes. Princes, did I say? Prince, multiple prince, and he used to teach all of them, right? So for him, all of them were same. And that's why he gave everything what he could. But as you would know, in your schools, one teacher teaching so many students, it depends on the students. So this is one of those learnings we can take from Bhagavad Gita, that, or from Mahabharata, that teacher is teaching everyone, but it's the responsibility of the student to get better and better and better, right? So if you're learning, and this is what happened with Arjun as well. Arjun was the best student of Dronacharya. Why? Not because Dronacharya used to love him or he was the favorite of Dronacharya. No, because he was the one who wanted to learn the most. He was the one who practiced the most. He was the one, when all others used to play, he still wants to learn, right? If you are one of those students, then your teacher will have much more respect for him, for you. And there was a time where Dronacharya announced a break. So he said, okay, take a half an hour break. We will catch up in half an hour. But Dronacharya had his own son. And he said, okay, you come here. I'm going to teach you something. In the break, he was about to teach to his own son, whose name was Ashwathama. Ashva is Sanskrit for horse. Horse. So, because when this boy, when he was born, he cried, and he cried like a horse. So that's why that's why his name was Ashwathama. Right. There are few. There are, yeah, horse sound. There are a few more stories similar to this, but I'm giving you a funny bit. But Ashwathama, so Dronacharya was teaching Ashwathama, and then Arjun came. And then Dronacharya said, don't you want to play? I've just announced a break. And then Arjun said, and this is one of the beautiful words, if you think about, a student can say to the teacher, and the teacher was so proud of him. Arjun said, when teacher is teaching, because he was about to teach to his son, that when teacher is teaching, how come it could be a time for play? That you might have announced that this is a time for break, but you are still teaching. And you're not teaching to me, but you're teaching to your son, and I can still stand and learn from you. And then Dronacharya said that looks like you will not leave anything with me, which means you will take everything I have. And this is what happened. His own son could not learn everything from him, but Arjun did learn everything from Duryodhana. Right, okay, 18.26. So
Duryodhana didn't teach the Pandavas or anyone anything. Dronacharya did.
Dronacharya did. Yes, that's right. Yes. Dronacharya was very good, and he taught all of them. But Pandavas, all the Pandavas, 5 Pandavas, they were good, they were pious, they were righteous, and they were religious, they were spiritual. Whatever they did was, well, whatever they did, of course, there were few things, because they were also part of the drama, if I call it, how the Mahabharata was played for us to learn. The whole purpose is, from these stories, what we can learn, how we can improve our life. When we interact with others, how differently we could be. Okay, great. So this is the time of the day. It's been an hour. We stop here and think about it, meditate on it, become a bit philosophical, right? Discuss these stories with your parents. If they know a bit more about Mahabharata, learn all those stories. If they don't know, then whatever you have learned today, share that with him, with your parents, with your dad, with your mom, with your siblings, with your cousin, brothers and sisters. And then next time, come ready with more stories and more questions. Ask a lot more questions and think how you can utilize all this information, making decisions in your life. Okay, great. Thank you so much for that thumbs up, Divesh or Devika, whoever gave that. Thank you so very much. It's such a
Devesh did that.
Divesh did that. Well done. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to welcome you, and we will continue with setting the scene. We are going slow because we want to make all the fundamentals clear. And I look forward to see you next Sunday, 6 p.m. UK time. Thank you so much, everyone. With that, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev Maharaj ki jai, jai